Welcome to the Dropship Podcast, where you'll learn how to build and grow a high-ticket dropshipping business and hear stories from successful e-commerce entrepreneurs. Let's kick this thing off.
Ooh, wow.
Sweet. Hey, welcome to the Dropship Podcast. And today we're coming at you. If you didn't listen to the last episode, this has to do with that, right? So what to do if you're stuck at niche selection. The last episode we put out was well over an hour of John and I literally telling you step by step how to choose a market, a niche in high ticket dropshipping. Based on some of the emails we got, we teach it very differently than anyone else who's out there. Maybe don't go download those lists or follow any gurus who've only been doing this for 6 months. All the gold was in that episode, but I bet some of you are still stuck. And if you're stuck on niche selection, this is the episode for you. Because I remember what it's like, John. I remember way back in the beginning thinking, what if I make the wrong decision? Kind of thinking it was going to be all over. That if I got it wrong the first time, that means dropshipping doesn't work, or I'm a failure, or it's, like that I only had one shot at this. And I didn't. Of course, you can pivot, but I empathize with somebody who's listening to this, really stressing over making the perfect decision.
Yeah. I mean, it does. It is. It's the first part of the process that people get really big hang-ups on, I think. And it's also, I don't know, I kind of think that sometimes people feel like to use it as a reason that they don't have to go on and do anything. Because it's kind of like, yeah, I would have done it, but I couldn't find a good niche. Like people give themselves like that outlet valve with that, where they're feeling the fear, whether it's a failure or of success, as we've talked about in a recent podcast or whatever. And they're like, I just couldn't find a niche. So I'll put that idea to one side and I'll go on and do something else. Like I get that sense from people a lot as well, is that sometimes when people are facing doing something really big and challenging that they really want to do, a part of them really wants to do it and they know they got to do it. But the temptation, I think, is to find something that allows you to not do it. Like without making you feel bad about literally quitting, essentially. Like quitting before you're even getting started. It's I can't find a niche, or I can't do that. Or I can't do this drop shipping until I know what my niche is going to be. Like we hear that a lot as well. And so the reason, ergo the rolls off the back of that is I don't know what my niche is, so I don't have to do anything. But I can feel good about myself because I wanted to.
Look, I remember stressing about it for a long time. I've said before I was a forklift driver at a Walmart distribution center. I remember looking at random products going, could it be this? And I'd look at suppliers and I couldn't muster up the energy to call the phone number on there when I would look up those suppliers. And after a while, I kind of settled on pellet grills, but I was still like wary. Like one of the biggest brands in the space, my wife's uncle was the national sales rep. And so like we'd go to his house and we'd eat on that pellet grill, and everybody else in the family had a pellet grill except for me, of course. And like I had to call this guy and ask his permission to let me, and he just thinks I'm some guy. Oh, cute. He started an e-commerce store. So at least that's how I felt. When in reality, when I talked to him about it, he was like, hell yeah, of course I would approve you. Like, I want to root for you. I want you to do the best you can. And like, but my brain was having confirmation bias of like looking for ways out and finding reasons not to do it. And then somebody posted in the forums, don't do pellet grills. Pellet grills doesn't work. And that was enough for me to be like, oh man, I built this entire site. It's over. I'm a failure. Again, just looking for more reasons why this wouldn't work so that I didn't have to put myself out there and find out whether it did work or not. Right. Like you said, if I would have tried, I would have been successful. Right. I think I did that. And I think, for the longest time I was looking for the perfect industry. Can I find an industry that no one else is in? No one's thought of. Reality is that just doesn't even exist.
Yeah. I think we get very tied up, when you're thinking of getting into business, and this is what held me back. Literally, I think this was part of the mindset that held me back from starting a business, like for a decade, maybe, was like my thinking at the time was like maybe when I was in my 20s or something. Because I didn't really have any exposure to business, like in my family or through my early life or anything like that. Like I knew nothing about it, but I just knew that I fucking hated working a job, and I don't like working for other people, and I kind of wanted to steer my own ship, right? But I always thought Well, to be successful at business, you have to have some unique idea. Like you have to have some big idea to build a successful business. And so, of course, it's really hard to just have one of those. I mean, some people do have one of those. Some people have many of those, but most people, you don't go through your day-to-day life and just think, oh, there's a unique thing that nobody's ever done before. I'm going to go do that, right? The reality is the vast majority of successful businesses do something that's already been done before. Like think about it. Like the new businesses that start every day are not all doing something unique. Majority of them are selling a product, their version of a product that's already been sold before, or providing a service that people are already providing somewhere, and blah, 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 and so on and so forth. And yes, you do have to bring, elements of uniqueness to that, in a sense, to your market, to your niche, whatever niche your business occupies. But like the thinking that you have to recreate the wheel essentially, or come up with some fantastic new invention, and in this case, a niche that nobody else has thought of, they don't exist. I mean, let's just break that myth down right now. I mean, as we've said, I think on the last one, like I do all the niche verifications in our course with our students. I've done thousands of these things at this point. The amount of times somebody comes up with an idea that I haven't heard before is pretty rare. It's really rare. It does happen occasionally, but it's pretty rare, right? And that's fine. All of the people that I know that I can think of in our course that are doing well are doing a niche that I had heard of before, right? Like it wasn't like they found some secret source that nobody else has. So like you definitely don't need that. There is no perfect idea, as you said. I mean, you can poke a hole in any idea. It's about your idea being good enough.
Yeah, I don't even know what's the idea. Like, really think back to anything else you've done in your life. Like, a lot of people go to college for way too long to learn very little, but like, they go into an industry. This is all you're doing. You're going into an industry. It's not like we're trying to find a product that's going to work. What industry do you want to work in? And then once you get in there, you're going to learn the things that suck and the things that aren't good. And imagine going in as like just out of college and you got your first job and the first day there and you're like, oh, this doesn't work because I don't know shit. Well, guess what? You don't know shit here either, right? Like you have to go learn some stuff. You have to go learn, shipping heavy products kind of sucks this way and shipping light products sucks this way. And supplier B is much more fun to work with than supplier C. And sometimes this happens in my business. And then, I need to have clear sale set up. So, because fraud happens in business. Like you just have so much to learn that it doesn't truly matter which niche you pick in the beginning because you got to go learn some shit. And so we want you to follow our system. That's why we did such a really long podcast on this. That's why we have what we used to call the 5-day challenge. I don't even know what it's called anymore, John, where you can kind of go through that selection process with us. But the reality is you need to pick and you need to move forward because it's not the niche. We've watched people come in the course who have we'll just call it niche A. We've watched people come in, choose niche A and fail. We've watched people come in, choose niche A and do fantastic. So is that the niche? Is that the products? Is that the market? Or does that have to do with the mindset that you come into this with it? Okay, I'm a beginner. I need to learn a whole bunch of things. And then I'm only going to get better. And you don't even have to stick, right? Maybe it doesn't work. Maybe you get into it and you realize, oh, this kind of sucks. Or serving this person is not as fun as I thought it would be. I certainly learned that. There's an old episode called Ben's Big L if you want to watch me learn this lesson. But you might find you don't like the person. You don't like the way the products. You don't like some suppliers. I have some suppliers we hate working with. I was talking to Ben behind me, my employee, about that today, literally complaining about one of them. And so like you have a lot to learn. And so like don't let this be a holdup. But I totally have empathy of like feeling like every single step along the way is scary because there's no bigger amount of imposter syndrome in your journey than right at the beginning because you have no idea what you're doing. And you're just totally relying on two weirdo dudes that you heard on a podcast that say this works, right? And you invested some money, but like likely your mom, your dad, your spouse, your friends are all looking at you kind of funny right now. And you're worried about this. And the reality is just keep going. Like, they want to see you fail to make their story true, right? Like people want to see what they believe to be true. And you're believing something very different right now. And I would challenge you, just keep believing that, keep going. Because like the only way to lose is quit. I think we've said that a lot. Like you're going to learn something either way. But if you follow the system that we teach, and then, again, if you're in our course, you can email your ideas to John. John's going to tell you yes or no, like whether these are good or bad. And that should give you some comfort in the idea that, like, you know, you work through a process to get there, and you have validation from somebody who's been in the industry for 10 years telling you, hey, maybe don't go here, or maybe this one looks better, or hey, go back to the drawing board. You're not looking at this correctly. I don't know. I think we try to do the best we can, but it's like anything else in life. We can't do it for you. Like, you just have to trust the process and do the work here.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, you know, there's so few bad niches out there as well. Like, it's not so much, I don't think it's so much that, like, there's definitely some that if somebody said to me, oh, like, I'm going to do this, and, you know, to this point, I had somebody email me the other day with somebody else's niche list, you know, and some ideas off there. Like, if somebody says e-bikes, I'm going to say, no, don't do that. This is on this guru's niche list. What a dunce. You know, sofas. That's not a niche. It's not even a niche. So I don't think, like, most things can work, right? I think the bigger problem is just people getting how they think about their niche, the concept of a niche right. I think this is where more people go wrong than actually picking products to sell that don't sell, or that won't sell, or that you can't sell, right? It's more the way that people think about their niche and come up with that idea, which then define, like, of who they're selling to, as we talked about in the last episode. So if you want to know what I'm talking about, just go and listen to episode 301. It's the last episode, right, that we did, where we walk through what this means. If you get that right, then I don't think you're going to pick a niche that can't work. Yes, some will be a little bit more challenging or a little bit less challenging in various ways, but you really can't go wrong very often if you do that. And that should really take, I think, I mean, it's not going to take the fear away for you, but that's reassuring, right? Like, you can't really go wrong. But let's play devil's advocate. Like, if you do get it wrong, let's say you did pick the wrong idea. You went out and you tried to call suppliers, you didn't get any suppliers, or some version of that. Like, that's not the end of the story anyway. Like, it's very easy to just change approach. And sometimes that means just shifting your niche a little bit sideways, picking up a few extra product categories, reshaping it a little bit. Sometimes that means doing something completely different. But, I mean, let's be real. You just recycle all of your accounts, rebrand, and, you know, like, you can do that in less than a week at no real cost to you, right? So even if you get your niche wrong, like, if you're truly committed to building a business and that's like your thing, like, you know, you got to do that, right? That's the thing that you want to do more than anything. Like, take a week, you refocus your approach and have another crack at it. You lose nothing. There is nothing lost. Your pride might be a little bit hurt, sure, but there is nothing lost, right? Nobody's going to know that you fucked up either. Like, you're sitting there doing it by yourself. You're the only person that's going to know. You don't have to tell John and Ben that you got it wrong. You don't have to tell your friends you got it wrong. Just refocus and have another crack. It's really, really simple. It's not a scary thing to have to do, and it's not going to cost you any money to do that. So I just think, you know, it's the first big decision, and it feels like a big thing when you're doing it for the first time, but it's certainly not a decision that can sink your ship unless you let it.
If you want help with this, when you purchase our course, you get a free niche selection verification. And right now we're running a sale. If you listened to 2 episodes ago, episode 300, we've done 3 episodes. So we ran a sale, dropshipbreakthru.com/300. Get in the course at the lowest price you're going to see and get that free niche selection verification. We're here for you. If you haven't listened to the last episode, start there. And if you want to hop in the course, dropshipbreakthru.com/300. We're here for you, and see you on the next episode. Thanks for listening to the Dropship Podcast. You can find all the show notes for this episode at dropshippodcast.com. And if you're ready to take the next step in your dropshipping journey, we invite you to join us inside Dropship Breakthru, where John and I will walk you through step by step in starting your own high-ticket dropshipping e-commerce business. But that's not all. Dropship Breakthru will also teach you everything you'll need to know to grow your business and take it to the next level.
So head over to dropshipbreakthru.com and sign up for our free training that will help you take the first steps towards building and growing your own profitable high-ticket dropshipping business.